On the agenda tonight, we're going back to 1970. We're going to be taking a look at Bobby Darin, and he's going to be performing Mac the Knife. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So, let's get Bobby up on screen and see how he gets on.
Has such teeth it and it shows that pearly white. Just jackknife as old Mac Heath, baby, and it keeps it out of sight. 2, 3, 4, 2, 2. You know when that shark bites with its teeth, baby, scarlet billows start to spread. Fancy gloves though wears Mac Heath, so there's never a trace of red. Ah, let it get good now on a sidewalk, Sunday morning, lies a body oozing life. Someone sneaking round the corner. Could that someone be old Mac the Knife? There's a tugboat down by the river, don't you know, where cement bear just trooping on down. Yes, you know that cement is there strictly for the waiting little girl. If I was gonna get you a dime, Brother Mackey's back in town. You hear about Louis Miller? He done disappeared, honey. Yeah, to draw it out, everybody jump in with me. All his hard-earned cash now Mac Heath spends right on, just like a sailor. Could it be that our boy done something rash? Come on, come on. Jenny Diver, oh, Suki Torrey, look out, Lionel, and not to mention Lucy Brown. You know that line on, way on the right, babe. Now that he's back in this hit town. I said Jenny Diver, look out, Suki Torrey, they're back, everybody. Not to mention old Lucy Brown. You can make book that line falls on the right, babe. Now that Maggie back in town.
And there we have it. Unfortunately, there is an abrupt end to the video, so we don't get to hear the end of that final note. But there is so much in this performance. But initially, just to expand on that entertainment side and what Bobby puts into this performance, as you can see, it's just him standing in the middle, pretty much, of the audience, considering that they're not just in front of him, they're off to the side as well. And taking on a performance like this would be so nerve-wracking to so many different performers at different levels as well. You get top performers who do get very nervous before they perform, but here, Bobby just seems so natural, so likable as well. The way that he delivers the vocal, it's like you're not really watching a guy performing up on the stage and there's that invisible wall between the audience and the performer. You get some guys that can just get up on stage and you're immediately involved, so that the bubble surrounds not only them, but the whole audience. And it's such a rare thing to have the ability to do. And that's why people that do have that ability are in such demand for live performances, because it's so light-hearted in the delivery that I've already mentioned, but it's not formal. The whole atmosphere is relaxed, and that's exactly what you want. He gets everybody on his side as soon as he starts singing, pretty much with the smile, but also counting out the timing so that he knows where to come in, and also the way that he counts the timing just gives it that extra little bit of entertainment in there, as well as laying down a fantastic vocal accuracy, pitch-wise, the control, having those light-hearted elements in there, but it doesn't get in the way of a great live performance and a great vocal throughout, considering as well that we've got these key changes going on that I alluded to earlier. It's something that you might not notice when you're watching the performance, the amount of keys that we get through, starting from B flat, going to B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, and that's where we end, and D sharp's the same as E flat. So we've got quite a range that we're covering and effectively playing the song in 6 different keys with 5 key changes. But because it's so smooth and Bobby's voice is totally unaffected by it, he's never straining for top notes when we are in E flat or D sharp. It's just that consistent vocal quality that he's got. And just for reference, the top note in this song and this performance is an F4, and it's a D3 that we actually start on at the beginning of that first verse. So we get over an octave here in range, but like I said, you're not going to really notice that because of Bobby's control vocally and the ease at which he does achieve this range of over an octave. The other thing that you're not necessarily going to notice is the dramatic change in tempo that we have throughout this performance, and the best way to test that is always go to the end of the song, listen to a few bars, rewind it back to the beginning, and listen to that change and how slow it is. So that is going to have such a dramatic effect musically and emotionally, but subconsciously, because you're not really aware of that, you're just appreciating the performance. But when you analyze that change in tempo and pitch, because we are going through a lot of pitch changes here, increasing in pitch, we're also increasing in tempo. So we're literally going on a journey here that is like climbing a mountain, but while we are climbing that mountain, we're actually increasing the speed at which we are scaling the mountain. Another way to describe it is being on a train or a runaway train, so that it's gradually increasing in speed all the time, and you can guarantee that if that does happen, you're going to be affected emotionally, probably a bit scared, but in this case, it's the excitement that is going to be increased subconsciously. You're not going to be aware of it, but you're just going to be enjoying the performance. But it is something that you will sense on a deeper level, that things are speeding up, becoming more exciting, and it's just going to engage you in the performance even more. So just to show you guys the chords and also take you through the keys that we have going on here, because we start in B flat and then we move up to B, to C sharp, to D, and then to D sharp, and this is E flat as well. So those are all of the key changes that we go through within this performance, and as we do work our way through on the guitar, you're not going to be able to hit a great deal, because it's not as if there's lots of rhythm being played with the basic chords. There are little fills being thrown in and rhythm being played with chords that aren't standard chords. We've got ninth chords in there, also a little bit of diminished action going on. So I'll show you where those chords are, but we do have all of these keys that we'll go through, and I'll also show you how to just busk along with the performance if you want to. I'm going to be demonstrating this in C. We do have a lot of different keys that we could be playing it in, but you just play these exact same shapes and then just move it to the key that you want, and C is just a nice key to demonstrate it in anyway. So starting out with our C shape here, the bass actually jumps from the C down to the G. So if you want to keep that in, I've moved to fingerstyle here, but you can play this with a pick as well, which I will demonstrate. I'll also demonstrate how to transition into the next key. But we've got this C position, and we're bouncing from our root note to the rest of the chord, like that. And then we're playing this G, which I tend to just put my thumb over the top, like that, in order to get the G. So you want that kind of bounce in there. jump up to D minor, and the same thing's going on here with the right hand. And there's a little change down to the G before we get back into the C again. Like that. So playing this with a pick is exactly the same approach. You want to pick your root note and then play the rest of the chord. Like that, and you can hear that I'm putting a mute in there as well to make it clean, because if you're playing this finger style, once you've played the chord with your first, second and third finger on the right hand, you can then rest your fingers on the strings to get them to stop, and we don't want them ringing out all over the progression here. If I was going, then it'll just sound messy. You want to have that. You want to be able to stop that chord. An important thing to mention as well is that your rhythm is going to start on the first beat of the bar, but the vocal comes in on the fourth beat of the previous bar. So when you go 1, 2, 3, vocal, vocal, and you can see how na na na, it's actually coming in on that third note, the third line in that vocal phrase, but you're not starting on the na 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 na, because then you're going to be out of sync. So far we've got this. I'll bust out some nas as well so you know where we are in relation to the vocal. We've got na 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 na, na na na, na 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 na, na na na, na na na, and now we're going to a diminished shape here. So really slowing that down. We've got na na, na 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 na. And this is back to the D minor, and you just notice that diminished change. Hopefully, as I played through it with the melody, we're back into the na na, na na na, na na na. And we've got that little key change in there. I'll quickly take you through that. So that was the C, over and just alternating that bass line to the G. And here I'm playing the G sharp or the A flat, just with the root note, and then the chord, and now we're changing into the C sharp. Na na, na na na. Same progression, same shapes all the way through, and just keep doing that for the whole song, starting all the way down in B flat and work your way through that whole progression all the way up, changing after one repetition each time, up a semitone, and eventually you'll get to E flat, and then that'll be the end of the song. Just to quickly take you through the guitar that is going on in this performance, it is low in the mix, but it's just jazzy versions of the chords that are going on. So when we're playing our C into the D minor, instead of playing the D minor, we've got the D ninth chord, and that little slide. Same thing down there with the C, and when we get to the G, exactly the same principle there, just taking the top end of your chord, going down a fret and just sliding up into it in exactly the same way. And like that. So it's relatively simple stuff, but you'll hear those chords just jumping in and out because they're being phrased in that way so that you notice them. I do want to cover some of Bobby's history and his career. Starting off, back when he was born, he was told that his mother was his sister and his grandmother was his mother. And this was something that he wasn't told the truth until he was 32 years of age in 1968. So he believed that up until that point. It's because his mother was only 17 or 18 years of age when she had Bobby. So the family kept that a secret from everybody but Bobby as well. Bobby learned to play multiple instruments when he was young, drums, guitar, piano as well. So a multi-instrumentalist. He also added in harmonica later on, I believe. But having that ability meant that he could turn his hand to songwriting because he had that melodic appreciation. Just getting into his name, Bobby Darin, the Darin part of his name was taken from a restaurant that he ate at. and it was called Mandarin, but the man part of the restaurant with the lighting, it didn't work. So all you could see was Darin that was lit up. So he chose that as his surname, as his stage name. In relation to his songwriting, he bumped into Don Kirshner at a candy store and they started writing jingles and songs together, managed to secure a contract with Decca Records at that time. He was part of the Brill Building gang of songwriters, and through that he bumped into Connie Francis, and with Connie he wrote songs, helped her writing songs as well. He also became romantically involved with her to the point where they were talking about getting married, but Connie's father wasn't particularly happy about this relationship, so it was called off, and that was something that Connie referred to later as one of the biggest mistakes of her life, not marrying Bobby. So Bobby knew a DJ called Murray Kaufman, and his mum was a frustrated songwriter. She was trying to work on something called Splish Splash Take a Bath in an American accent. A bad one, it would be Splish Splash Take a Bath in an English accent. Doesn't quite have the same ring to it. But anyway, Bobby said that he could make a song out of that title because they thought it was a bit of a silly title. And sure enough, Bobby went away for an hour and came back with Splish Splash, which he released in 1958, and it was a massive hit and sold over 1 million copies, and it was his breakthrough hit. At this time is when his writing relationship with Don ended. In 1959, he released Dream Lover, and that was another monster hit, a multi-million seller. And to show his versatility, he recorded his own version of Mac the Knife, and that was another monster hit, got to #1 in the charts, sold over 2 million copies. And he also won the Grammy Award for Record of the Year, and this is in 1960, as well as the Grammy for Best New Artist. In the late 50s, he was headlining at major Las Vegas venues and also started a publishing company, which was a wise move, being a songwriter, and that was set up with Terry Melcher, who was Doris Day's son. He then started to turn to country music and started writing that in 1962, and in 1962 he released his song called Things, and that was a huge hit in the USA. It got to #3 in the charts, and it actually charted better here in the UK, getting to #2. 1963 as well, he released You're the Reason I'm Living, and that got to #3 in the US charts. The other thing that Bobby had a passion for, and it was his main passion, acting. That was the thing that he got into as a young man, and he started singing and songwriting, but his passion was for acting, which he really did get into in the late 50s, early 60s as well. In 1961, he starred in Come September, and that also starred Sandra Dee, who he would later marry, and he won a Golden Globe as well in 1962 for New Star of the Year in the actor category, and he did release another song in 1966. It was actually after a 2-year break, and that was a cover of a Tim Hardin track called If I Were a Carpenter, and that was a huge hit. It got to #8 in the US charts, and it got to #9 here in the UK. In 1968, he actually worked on Robert F. Kennedy's campaign, and he was at the Ambassador Hotel when Robert was assassinated. This was the same year that he was then told about his sister being his mum and his mum being his grandma. So it was a very heavy year for Bobby. Understandably, he took time off and spent a year in seclusion. But he did return in 1969, setting up his own record label, and that dealt with folk and protest music. He also wrote Simple Song of Freedom, and this is something that Tim Hardin had a lot of success with. It turned into his best-selling song, so they helped each other out with writing songs for each other. In the early 70s, Bobby also appeared on TV a lot, as well as having his own show. Unfortunately, Bobby always had problems with his health because he had rheumatic fever, which resulted in a weakened heart. And in 1971, he had an operation to implant 2 artificial valves. He often had oxygen during and after his performances, and in 1973 he had a second operation to repair the valves that were implanted previously, but sadly he didn't recover from that operation and died in the recovery room in December of 1973, and he never regained consciousness after that operation. But it's great to have a look back at Bobby here in full flow, and fortunately we do have these videos that we can look back at, looking at his showmanship quality, getting everybody involved, his ability vocally, but also Bobby was one of those guys that had such a wide skill set, and even saying that he was a triple threat, which is something that a lot of people refer to him as, you can argue that he was a multi-instrumentalist, he was a fantastic songwriter, a fantastic singer, a fantastic actor, and an award-winning actor. So it doesn't even cover it, saying that he was a triple threat. And when you consider as well that he's in the Songwriters Hall of Fame as of 1999, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1990, and he's also got a star of his own on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So such a fantastic all-round artist and actor, as well as being a multi-instrumentalist. But thank you guys so much for suggesting this video for me to take a look at, and keep the suggestions coming in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!